Lord of the Rings Online is known to be one of the most cozy and comfortable MMORPGs out there today, and that is great. But what if we want to change that around a bit? What if we want to have a bit of a challenge whilst playing solo? Luckily, the game provides. We can talk to the Hardened Traveler here, pick the difficulty of our choosing. I'm gonna go in, for the first time ever, with the highest difficulty. Difficulty 9, Heroic +2, and I'm probably gonna get my ass whooped. But it should be a fun experience at the same time. We'll see. I'm gonna go in with the Hunter as my first class. I want to check out other classes in the future as well, but the Hunter feels fitting because it was the first class I ever played in this game. So without further ado, I'm pretty excited for this. Let's go into this. After I have created this handsome devil of an elf, I talk to Elladan in order to start the main quest, sort out my backspace, go for the first quest objectives, notice that I don't have any quest objectives yet, return to Elladan with my very confused elf Iphoton, try again, talk to more elves, talk to dour hands, talk to longbeards, kill a couple of dour hands, and level up for the first time, get a couple of my skill points, and basically just tiptoe my way through Ered Luin until I am confused again and have to return for some more quest objectives. I put a tortoise shell as a helmet on my head, take pictures of dwarven statues like a good elven tourist, and, well, you know the rest.
There's evil in the air here.
I just always like that cutscene. As soon as I make it out of the introduction, I talk to the Hardened Traveler and accept difficulty 9 Heroic +2. I behold the debuff of Dread for the first time, and I wonder, what kind of madness has led me to this path? I decide there is some severe preparations needed in order to face the challenges ahead, so I accept quests. I walk down to the river, stare at lanterns and question whether or not I should join them. I talk to the Master of Apprentices and choose the professions that feel most fitting for an elven hunter: woodworking, tailoring and forestry. I then look towards crafting my first bow. Unfortunately, it is for level 7. However, I turn to level 7 whilst crafting the bow, which makes me feel like the universe might just be on my side on this crazy mission of madness. With newly awakened confidence, I look for some enemies and start chopping some wood. Crafting materials are important after all. Whilst doing that and pondering on nature, I notice that a Vault Keeper is nearby, and so I decide to ride over there. I still have quite a bit of buff stuff in my inventory, which I sent over from other characters. But I've actually decided that on these max difficulty runs, it should be very interesting to have the characters rely on themselves for crafting. So my hunter can only rely on woodworking and tailoring, and for buff wood and for jewelry, I'm going to have to look towards skirmish camps, missions and quests in order to get the best gear possible. This should be interesting because I really want to see what kind of gear I'm going to be able to put together for my hunter here. But that is actually a problem for future me. For now, I think it is finally time to go into some fighting. I attack my first fly in the field. I shoot 4 abilities at the fly and it's gone, which confuses me a bit because this feels relatively easy, but the fly did not move, which might have just been a bug. So I attack a second one and allow it to attack me this time. And I actually take some considerable damage, at least if we are taking into account that these are probably the easiest enemies that we're ever going to face on difficulty 9. So I decide to run up the hill in order to see how the wolves of Lake Nan Hilleth are going to fare against me. They are only level 6 and 7, but I feel like they are probably going to be a bigger challenge than the flies that we have just faced.
At your service.
Might you spare a moment of your time?
I accept all the quests in this area and notice that I can spend another skill point, and a pretty important one. I can either get my heal or get my first AoE with Split Shot. I decide to go for Split Shot, but wonder if it might be a mistake because I don't want to go up against a lot of groups yet, but this is to be seen. I decide to start hunting. I start attacking one at a time and things don't look too bad in the beginning, but I notice a significant difference in comparison to attacking flies. These wolves actually reach me before I can kill them. This also means they start doing damage to me. They mostly only get off 1 or 2 hits, but every single one takes a considerable chunk of my HP. So this can only mean one thing: kiting is already mandatory. I do this for a bit, and things go relatively smoothly. I kill enemies at decent pace and I like this area. It is beautiful and the wolves are part of a Slayer deed in Ered Luin, which means that we can double dip. We can get experience, do quests and work towards our virtues at the same time. After leveling up again, I this time pick Press Onward, and rightfully so. After using it in the field for the first time, I noticed that this heal is actually pretty overpowered in the beginning. I get a bit overconfident whilst my heal is on cooldown. I attack 3 wolves at once and kind of forget to kite at the same time. This is where things become close for the first time. I take a couple of hits and my health bar just melts away. I'm down to half of my morale, when I kill the first wolf. This takes a bit of pressure off, and luckily the other wolves are slowed due to low cut, but whilst I kite, I aggro a fourth enemy, and he just eats what is left of my health bar. One more hit and I will already have my first death at level 8. I use a potion, keep running, keep firing my skills, and barely survive. That was close and super fun at the same time. This really makes me understand how quickly I can be taken down if I'm caught off guard. It also makes me quite excited because I'm interested to see what challenges lie ahead and what future enemies have in store for me. I see another wolf-slaying hunter at the lake and I decide to ask her for a fellowship. I always do this because we can only profit, which I think is a very good game design decision. I return to Selondim to sell some stuff, give in the quests, and to see how much I can upgrade my character. With the crafting resources I have gathered, I should be able to improve my gear quite significantly. I presume right, and craft an entire set of level 7 gear, which is mainly going to give me agility and vitality, but also other useful stats as well. I'm even able to craft myself a fancy new cloak. Looking at my current stats, I am at 205 morale and 9 agility. I start putting on all the gear pieces and marvel at the growing beauty and elegance with every single piece that I equip. Whoa. In all honesty, who wouldn't want a piece of that? I decide not to dazzle everybody with my newfound beauty and decide to put on a less overwhelming look with my cosmetic outfits. Back to less important topics. What about my stats? I went up to 32 agility and over 300 morale, which is significant. I also sit at 18.3 tactical mitigation and 43.6% physical mitigation, which feels fine for the moment. My next questing destination is going to be Limael's vineyard. On my way there I take a little detour like a true elf. I ponder on the beauty of nature and watch birds rise to the sky on the horizon. And try to make an elegant exit by jumping off this hill. Oof, that must have hurt. I secretly switch my horse to cover up I just broke my horse's legs for no reason whatsoever and ride on like nothing happened. Reaching the vineyard, I get a powerful elven double greeting, which makes me level up immediately. This makes me check on my virtues for the first time, making sure I actually have the right one slotted in. I then up my bleed damage with my new skill point and check out the quest locations I'm supposed to tackle in this area. So prepared, I move against the goblins that have taken over this beautiful place of peace. I rejoice to see my fellowship companion again, who I haven't met since I joined up with her at Lake Ninhillith. No communication needed, we start slaying goblins alongside each other with mutual benefit. My elf Iphaton tries to keep his emotions at bay at this point, because this other hunter is the oldest friend that he's ever had in his digital lifespan. Luckily, Iphaton gets a hold of himself and keeps slaying away. Due to his respectable efforts, I noticed the aura around these goblins for the first time. I'm guessing enemies can get a buff at this level of difficulty, but I'm too busy to look it up. I reach the boss's location only to find that he's not here. Instead, no friends? I graciously bow to them, but they kind of ignore me, which makes Iphaton panic and randomly jump for another cool exit. It doesn't work. The foundation for social anxiety is laid. I fight alongside these honorable looking warriors for a bit until I notice the Eye of Sauron attempting to smite at one of them. Seems like I'm not the only one playing on high difficulty here today. Another yellow buff around one of these goblins makes me feel like I should really find out what these are before I start my next adventure. I then return to the boss's location in order to see if he has respawned, and indeed, Pembrush is his name, and I immediately start firing away at him. He's taken down relatively quickly, which I'm not surprised by. Bosses in the landscape are usually not that crazy. I then get tempted to pull 3 more goblins and this proves to be a bit more of a challenge. However, as long as I stay at range, nothing I can't handle. I ride back to the double elven greeting lady victorious and in style. I get virtue experience for the first time and level up honor to level 2. This boosts my tactical mitigation to 19.4% and my morale to almost 350, a pretty good improvement. I also make sure wit is the next virtue I'm earning for. I then ride to Duilund, visit the gardens and disturb these 2 elves, obviously looking for some quality time, with some very awkward dancing and clapping. Continuing on my little tour, I'm delighted to find my teammate engaged in an epic dance battle. I consider joining, but Iphaton's social anxiety kicks and I concentrate on solo activities instead. I move on, and whilst I should actually do some questing, coming to a terrace, I can't help but marvel at the beauty and the atmosphere of this 19-year-old game once again. Getting a touristic flashback, if that is even a word, to Ered Luin, I try to take some pictures of statues again. Trying multiple, I finally find one that fills out the screen properly. Looking at the epic face of the statue, I remember that I haven't activated a title yet and choose my standard heritage title to make everybody know that I am an elf of Mirkwood. I finally decide to do what I'm actually supposed to do here and give in and accept quests for this region. I'm told to go to the goblin-infested ruin of Dol Ringfest. As a greeting, I get double hit by spears and immediately take a huge amount of damage. Just one more close-ranged hit and I'm down to 100 morale. I use my heal and remember why playing on difficulty 9 is considered to be tough. I move further into the premises, slaying goblins a bit more cautiously now, until I see my fellowship member again, casually running past me. I don't know why, but it is kind of nice to run into my fellowship member without intent from time to time. I keep clearing out the ruins until I get to the last 2 goblins before the boss. I don't pay enough attention and they catch up to me pretty quickly and do a huge amount of damage. I kite as well as I can. I think about holding off on my heal but eventually decide to use it, just to be safe. This means I won't have it available for the boss, but we should be fine. I attack Durglub head on and he actually decides to heal instead of attacking me, which seems to be his downfall. I slow him, shoot 3 more abilities at him and he is a goner. Thereafter, the ruin of Dol Ringfest feels pretty empty and I do a couple of celebratory jumps. I also make them hear my most frightening war cry, just to make them understand their utter defeat.
Hurrah!
Enchanted by some fireflies, Iverton feels like he has already done a lot of great deeds up to this point. Surely the minstrels all over Middle-earth are already singing of his heroism in Arid Luin. Before taking a nap, he decides it might be a good idea to test out the yellow trade tree for his next adventure. Until then.